Just for everyone who's on, we are going to be waiting until 6 o'clock or until we have a quorum to start. We have 4 board members who will be on the meeting tonight. So just hang tight, and once we either have 4 people or it's 6 o'clock, we'll get started.
Adrian, did you feed Carbon?
Hello, everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Can do.
Yep.
All right, very good.
It looks like we're just waiting on Jeff and 6 o'clock to get started. So as soon as he's on, we'll get rolling. Can you hear us, Phil?
Yep. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Philip Dixon.
Oh,
chairman-
Phil, Jeff's not on yet.
Huh?
Jeff's not on yet. I was just asking if you could hear us.
Oh, I thought you said get started.
No, I said then we can get started once Jeff gets on.
All
But
right.
as soon as we see him log on, we'll get started. Or not Jeff, I'm sorry. Who else was coming? Oops.
We need Rachel.
Rachel, yeah. Jeff is the one who is not coming.
Seeing so many faces on there, it took me a minute to figure out who wasn't here. Here she is.
All right, go ahead and get started.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Philip Dixon, chairman of the Board of Architectural Review, and we welcome you to our Board of Architectural Review board meeting. It's now 6 o'clock, just about, on October 5th, 2021, the time scheduled for our meeting to begin. Depending on the size or complexity of a project, each applicant has the opportunity to present a conceptual or master plan for our review prior to committing funds for a full set of drawings and design plans and specs. Approval of a concept means that we might agree with the concept while disagreeing with some of the details. It also means that each phase of the project must be submitted at a later date once the plans are more fully developed to obtain the board's final approval for that individual portion of the project. Hopefully, any disagreements will have been worked out before the applicant comes before the board. One of the projects being reviewed this evening has been reviewed before and is now ready to be considered for further approval. For those of you who may be new to our meeting, our charge is to look at each project purely on aesthetics, design, architecture, height, mass, and scale, and in harmony with the historic district in the town of Somerville. We look at the overall street scene. Although we are not required to solicit comments from anyone other than the applicant and the board members except for demolition requests, we usually choose to allow others to express comments that might help influence our decision after the applicant has presented the project and the board members have resolved any questions that they might have. As always, we will review each submittal in the order that it was submitted. However, as a first order of business, we must approve the minutes of our last meeting, which were sent to the board members for review prior to the meeting. Are there any changes that need to be made, or do I have a motion that they be accepted?
I'll make a motion they be accepted.
And a second?
I'll second Tim Kennedy.
Please respond with a yes or a no when I call your name. Rachel?
Yes.
Nancy Jean?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And mine is yes. So they are approved. The first project on our list tonight is 205 Sumter Avenue, addition to the existing single-family residence and the existing garage.
I think I'm going to hand it over to Simmons or Skylar to share their screen because their presentation is larger and they'll be able to zoom in on specifics a little bit better if y'all want to go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, there we go. I think I've got it all up. Thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
And just as a reminder, everyone else who is not presenting, not board members, but any other panelists, if you could please mute yourselves so we don't have to deal with any background noises. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Simmons Young. I'm here tonight on behalf of Gordon Benny and Karen Freer, the owners of 205 Sumter. They've recently purchased this house and have done a good amount of research on the history of the families and the structure itself. And they have an interest in preserving the building. So part of the overarching goal tonight is to take some of the program that might otherwise be difficult to fit in this structure and pull it out into an addition so that the preservation of the structure itself may be easier to accomplish. So I want to go over quickly some of the comments that had come up last time we looked at this, maybe about a month ago.
His sound is suddenly dropped a lot. Am I the only one who's suddenly not getting sound very well?
It's quiet or
Okay,
soft.
I can hear you fine, Rachel.
Let's see, let me try another microphone.
Oh, that's better.
Yep.
That's better already?
Yeah.
Okay, how's that? Does that work?
Better, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, sure, certainly. Thank you for letting me know. So some of the comments from last time, one was that the hyphen separating the addition, the structure is helpful, and we'll look at that. The removal of the existing addition was a good idea and is helpful. Trying to make the form more subordinate or submissive to the original structure In order to accomplish that, we lowered it by 2 feet 3 inches, and we made it read as 1.5 stories, which you'll see. And then the other comment was that the preliminary form is simple and stark and needed a little bit of additional ornamentation and so we did trim and moldings to complement the main house. Okay, so this is the area of work. This is the front of the house, the part seen from Sumter. And then this is the back of the house, which is seen from West 5th South Street. This is a view from the garden yard. I'm going to zoom in here. This is from a view from the garden with this existing portico, and then an addition. We'll show you an earlier photo before this addition was put on. This is a 2-story addition, and this is the view from Sumter Street. So just a little on the evolution of the house. This is from what we can determine the original structure. Sort of a T-shaped, and it was a surgeon's house. His surgeon's office was his surgery, I guess, was in this T-shaped portion, and then this was where the family lived, and this sort of stairs in the outline are indicative of that. In the 1930s, there was a 1-story enclosed addition here, which will show you a photo. In the 70s, this was added on, and I think this actually may have been a little bit later date portico. So then what we're proposing to do is pull off this addition and do repairs to this wall. Currently, there is no wall here on the first floor. And the house is suffering some sagging because of that. And then put this addition on after we've made those repairs. This is an early plat showing Sumter and 5th South Street. And interestingly, there was a portion of the house that wasn't there in this plat, recorded in 1902. So that was just interesting to discover. So this is a 1-story portion from the 30s, and you'll note in a bit that this window changed a little bit from its original configuration, and this became 2 stories. On the site, this is where we're proposing to put the addition. Again, this is the front of the house with the piazza and the front door and the larger dormer. West 5th South Street is over here with the garage. And then there are houses visible up this driveway and up this driveway as well. And one other thing about the site, we are looking at widening the driveway in this area, which is pervious gravel, and there's no new no new exterior landscape lighting proposed to go in. We're working with Southern Roots. They've been maintaining the property and working on the oak trees for years. Nathaniel Rice, we've been in contact with him, so we will continue that as we work on the foundations of the structure, and then also there's a mitigation. With this, this is a garage here that we're looking to expand. There's a magnolia tree that is right on the 8-inch border, so we'll get him to evaluate that and then work within the town of Somerville's guidelines for mitigation. This is a floor plan of the addition. As I was mentioning, in the existing house, there is no wall here. There's a significant sag to the floor in this area because we believe a point load is causing that to happen here. So we'll be working on that in the basement of the raised basement of the structure, and then we're reinstalling this wall in order to reestablish the original configuration of the house. And the addition is here. It picks up some functions like powder rooms and laundry rooms and family rooms so that these 3 rooms can maintain their original proportions and layouts. Similarly, this is the second floor, and you can see how it's all cut up in the way that a bathroom was added. And so we're trying to clean that up a bit again and get back closer to original proportions. Taking the bathrooms and a study into this addition. And this is the 3rd floor, really no changes up there. this is the garage. It has a copper roof, which we're looking to extend this 10-foot section here. There's currently no man door into the garage, so if the power goes out, which it has, then you can't, these doors don't function. So we're looking to add a door on the end of the structure so that you don't have to open the garage doors to get in, and then expanding by 10 feet. This is comparative, and we'll have a larger view in just a moment of this proposed. So this is the original structure, that T-shaped from the north side, the one-story addition with a window here and a smaller window here. This is what's here now, which is a larger window on the second floor, no window here. Some of the original windows, the 9/9s, we think have been used here, and we intend to put them back in their original wall. And then we'll zoom in here, but basically the addition is to have a glass hyphen that separates it from the house. And then the plane of the addition is slightly back from the plane of the main house.
Simmons, quick question before you leave that.
Yep, sure.
The portico it's drawn differently on the proposed than the existing. Is that just drafting?
It is. Thank you for that. Yeah, that is something that we sort of caught halfway through. So no changes proposed here.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Okay, and then this is the east side, again, original 1930s with the one-story porch. There's an existing portico here now with a two-story portion. One thing that's difficult about this is that the roof of this this addition is kind of shoved underneath the eave of the other one, and it sticks out even a bit past the plane of the main house. So that's just not a condition that we would want to have. So we address that when we come into the proposed. There's a great oak tree, and this opens up to views to the east of that oak tree, and then the glass hyphen in this case opens up as a door, as a way to enter, to replace the portico. And then this is the existing, the main, the front facade, the main facade, and there are no changes here to the piazza or the main house. Well, there's a little rot in the piazza that we'll fix, but this is in the distance. The addition sticks out a little bit in the back corner. West side, no changes, and then this is just the enlarged view to talk a little bit about materials, glass and metal framed, metal windows to have something a little bit more contemporary. Lap siding with a 6-inch exposure. We talked about this last time and decided to match the house. So that was, we had a 4-inch and we changed to a 6-inch. Brick foundation. It's got a running bond, so that'll be a little bit more modern than the bond that's in the foundation of this structure. Then we have architectural shingles and a metal roof for the dormer. We feel that that works with the architectural shingle that's on the house, and then the metal roof of the piazza. It's kind of a nod to that design element. On the east side, again, this glass hyphen, we talked about the materials. And then this is metal framed glazing and brick foundation. Similar to the other side. The piazza, this is, again, in the distance, this slightly more modern window with the sill height matching the sill height of the house itself. And then this is a section which I think is good at sort of telling the story about how this is subordinate. The addition is subordinate to the main structure, just in comparative scale. I think that reads well. We've again pulled it down further below this eave, and the knee walls in here are about 4 feet 6 inches, so that this roof line can extend and make it really read as 1.5 stories rather than a full 2 stories, which was partially reading at last time. And then this is a section close through near the middle of the roof, not quite at the middle, but again, just shows the relative scale to the main structure. Building section through the dormer and just showing how the dormer is being used to get more headroom in that third floor of the, I'm sorry, in that second floor of the addition. And this is a section through that glass wall with a bit of siding up top. And then I think, click back to that elevation 1 second. We're at about 5 feet here, and then at about 8 feet here, 8.5 feet here at the peak. So these, we've got some perspectives and then a rendering. Then I think we're done after that. So these are some perspectives. This is from that one of the driveways. Oh, good. Here's sort of a miniature site plan with Sumter on this side and West 5th South Street. So this is up this driveway on Sumter. With again that sort of surgeon's office part of the building. This is from Sumter with the piazza and the addition concealed, not able to be seen from that view, which we think is the most important. Then this is from West 5th South Street, right by the garage, looking up where you've got this grand oak tree that conceals a good amount of it. And then this is in a similar location at the intersection of West 5th South and Sumter. And this is just an enlarged perspective. This is that view from West 5th South Street, where the addition is going to be the most visible. This is the portico and the 2-story addition. And this is a rendering of what that might look like. With the tree sort of ghosted so that you can see the addition a bit. And then these are some of the materials that we're talking about using the brick from the using the similar brick from the foundation, different bond pattern to distinguish it a little bit. Wood siding, that same exposure, the metal roof. We talked about that standing seam metal on the dormers, and then the metal windows, a little bit more, again, sort of contemporary window treatment, and yeah, then the influence of the wood siding and the trim and moldings get pulled into the building itself. So I think in conclusion, the addition is designed to be subordinate to the main house. It's supposed to be of its time. By putting some of the program in the addition, we're able to better preserve the original house. And we've chosen this location of the addition because it allows the removal of this non-historic, insensitive 1980s part of the structure. Additionally, it's as close to the back of the house as can be chosen. And we're working with an arborist on the preservation of the historic oaks, and the footprint does not extend past the existing portico of the house. We think this is an improvement to the structure that follows the federal and town guidelines for additions to historic structures, and we're presenting this for final BAR approval tonight, and we thank you for your consideration. And that'll answer any questions you may have.
I have a bunch of questions.
Okay.
This is Rachel. Have you showed this design to any of the neighbors?
Mr. Benny was in town a few weeks ago, and I believe he's on the line. I think two neighbors, one or two neighbors visited with him about it. I know he walked one of the neighbors through the house. Yeah. So that's, is he available? Mr. Gordon, are you on the line as well?
We also did have Miss Coates, Eleanor, who was on the last meeting, and I'm sure she's on at least watching the live stream. And I do have a letter from I think 4 sets of neighbors to read at some point reiterating their concerns and comments. But the plans have been available online for anyone to view.
Okay. I was just curious if the architect or owner had specifically reached out to any of the neighbors. Could you please clarify, is it a copper roof on the garage or is it a green metal roof?
It is a copper roof on the garage. I don't think we have a photo of it.
I just recall in our last meeting, there was some discussion about whether or not it was copper, because I think one of the neighbors said they thought it was green metal.
Let's see if I can find a photo. I thought that it was aged copper, but to be very truthful, that has not been the focus of my look
Okay.
at this. Could be green.
Okay. I'll just stick with the garage for a little bit. Has there been any conversation with the neighbor who is immediately adjacent to the garage on what kind of landscaping you might do, or what you might do on the rear of that garage building that will be now more visible to him?
What we heard at the last meeting was that the white siding was objectionable, and sorry, we might have a little bit more info on that. But so we put shrubs there. One of the main concerns that the owner has is that the trees have retained moisture and not allowed that wall to dry. So we have moved to shrubs on that wall.
Okay.
And sorry, let me get to the garage slide so that I'm not.
Okay.
So Simmons, I'm looking at Google Maps here, Google Earth, and are you talking about removing of the, I guess it looks like there are 4, I don't know if you call them trees or not. They're like 4 bushes along there, kind of about
That's
eve height.
correct. Yeah, so this is the side that faces the neighbor, and they're tall. I think they're bushes that have just grown quite tall in here. And I believe they've already been removed. I'm not 100% on that. So we're looking at something that holds more of like a 3 to 4 foot height kind of consistently.
I think they're listed as tea olives somewhere along in the minutes.
Right.
Yeah, they could be very well Tialis. Thank you, Nancy Jean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it appears the roof is painted green metal to me. We can
I
Google.
think that's what one of the comments were in the last meeting, is that it wasn't copper, it was just green metal.
Okay, my apologies on that.
So I'm just going to stay with the garage a little bit. Given that the backside is facing the neighbor and it's just a continuous long wall with perhaps shrubs, had you looked at what you might do to the rear so that it wasn't as unadorned or plain?
We haven't. I think we'd be open to adding a window or 2 to match these. Although I do get the sense that privacy is maybe more important.
I'm sorry, your sound keeps getting very
Yeah.
faint and I can't hear you.
I can't either.
Well,
Nope.
that's not good. Can you hear me any better now?
Not
Barely.
well, like
Mm-mm.
it's very irregular. Sometimes I can hear you perfectly and then it fades.
Oh gosh, is that any better?
Yes, that's much better.
Okay. I've been on the other end of that. It is difficult. I will say so the roof is going to match the existing painted metal. I want to make sure that I say that. I did get the sense that the neighbors is more interested in privacy, so we'd be open to adding windows, but I'm not sure that that would further the cause. Maybe a lattice or a espaliered planting might be something that we could think about.
Well, there's a wide variety of options without it necessarily being windows. I'd encourage that you think of something for that wall.
Okay, just to sort of
Um,
pick up the rhythm.
Yeah, and it's a long wall
Yeah,
that is facing his home, and it's not very far away. And the low shrubs may not be enough to sort of create a buffer.
okay.
So my further questions are, you were saying that the brick is going to be similar, but it's going to be a new brick, is it?
It'll be new brick and it won't be painted. The sizing is what we're looking to match.
Okay. So when you were showing us the wall section, it looked to me in the elevations that the original brick is flush with the exterior wall. Is that the detail that you're doing with your new addition?
So we are looking at putting in a like a water table style brick to again add a little bit of more ornament.
But is that the relationship of brick to wall in the existing home? Or is the brick tucked under?
The brick is tucked under, and I see what you're getting at. Yeah, we can make
Well,
that.
my thoughts are, given that you're trying to be a more contemporary and a fairly like clean shape,
Right.
is perhaps where you're aiming for, is that this detail does not go with that. So I'd like you to rethink that relationship, especially on a historic home like this. And my other board members are free to comment and disagree, but that's my personal take on it. The other thing I'm not 100% clear about is where on the existing home is there a metal roof? Is there any asphalt roof? And where on the addition are you doing metal roof and asphalt roof? I'm sorry, I got lost in that.
Okay, no problem. So the piazza has this metal roof, this standing seam hand crimp metal,
Yeah,
and then the all of this used to be wood shingle, which you
Yeah.
can see in the attic, and then it was covered with the asphalt shingle.
okay.
And so our goal on this everyone except for the right one. Okay. Is where we have the slope to be able to take care of it, to have architectural shingles to match the existing. And then the slope is so shallow on the dormer that we need a metal roof, and we think it plays in nicely with the shallow slope of the piazza.
Okay. And so will it match that historic old roof in color and the profile and all of that?
Well, as you probably know, the turn metal went out of production about 10 years ago. So I don't think we'll be able to get that. I know we won't be able to get that. The copper is the easiest hand turn metal, although we've had success with, I think it's 24 gauge aluminum hand crimp metal. So silver is the desired color to, again, match the other one. So probably that's where we'll lean, a aluminum hand crimp metal.
Tim, what say you about aluminum hand crimp metal?
I'm not necessarily opposed to the aluminum hand crimp metal. The silver, I guess, is the existing has silver. Simmons, do you have a picture of that we can see?
Yeah, this is out of the dormer windows. That's why it's
Right,
easy.
gotcha. And so that's not really silver, right? That's more, that's been coated with something, I guess.
Yeah.
Looks like it's got a coating. Yeah.
That's a coating. And what are you referring to? Are you referring to like a Galvalume type finish? Are you looking?
Yeah, we've done painted Galvalume. A hand crimp painted Galvalume is where we usually end up on this.
Right,
stuff.
gotcha.
So then you'll paint it to match this? Is that what you're thinking?
I think that gives you the most historic look.
Yes.
Okay.
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 Okay, and you can see it looks like the coating's flaking up there at places in your photograph. So I'm sure that's like probably Cool Seal or Hydrostop or something like that.
It looked like it, yeah.
I do agree with Rachel's comments on the foundation, and I do agree that you should probably look back at that and address that differently.
No problem. We'll get
Probably
that
address
taken
it
care of.
more in keeping with the existing house.
Yeah.
Some of these windows, I'm trying to get comfortable with these metal windows, and you didn't really give us too much there. Tell us a little more about that. You kind of got this vague picture, but no brand or picture of the window you're actually using or anything like that.
And then there seems to be a big difference between the windows you're showing on the side that are 2/2, and then the other, which is an entire wall with spandrel glass, I'm assuming.
That's right, yes. So let me take these ones first. So what we've been using recently is Colby metal clad wood windows. They have a nice warm appearance on the interior. They have a direct set, which looks a lot like steel. Very thin profile. I think it's not quite 3/4 of an inch. So that's what we like. We love to do steel. I have a feeling that if we put steel in, then we would be coming back and asking for wood clad windows once the price came back in, with the way things are going right now. And then, yes, let's see, let me get to that other elevation. There we go. Yeah, so you're right. This is a floor system in here. So this would be spandrel glass and then glass, and then we're showing more of like an aluminum either storefront or curtain wall system.
And what about these hyphens? What are you considering for that?
Those would be similar in material.
Like a storefront material?
Yeah, a 2-inch mullion in there. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
my gut feeling is that I know you've asked for final, but this to me is still pretty cartoony in that it looks like there's perhaps a wood trim that goes around the entire window, but you don't then show what the material is for the actual window, or am I missing something? So it's very difficult to get a sense of scale, like in that end view.
In this view where we've got sort of the 3.5-inch trim, and
like on the end view that you just showed us, is that wrapping around the entire outside? Is that like a wood trim?
like right, a wood trim, because it does have a
Right.
return.
Right.
Yeah,
But then do you not have some window form that would be inside that wood trim instead of glass just going straight into the wood trim?
Now, that is a detail that we've studied, and just looking at and going through the requirements, it didn't seem like sort of, window details were something that we needed to get in. And if we do, I understand, but we are looking tonight for some means to carry forward without being totally at risk for the client. And so I know the board doesn't give that without a request for final. And in looking again at the requirements online, that's sort of, perhaps since this is my first time going through the Somerville process, I may have missed something. But we are looking to answer your question, a full return here. The siding will run into a 2x2. And then we'll have more siding coming through here, which will end right in this frame of this window.
So,
Well,
so-
I would just agree with you. Normally, we don't care really about the detail, but we are looking at what is the exterior and then what does that sort of texture give us? And what would that look like? Because they might be different colors. And at the moment, I can't tell. So that was why I was asking. And now I'll hand it back over to Tim.
well, and I think Simmons, the concern here is you're doing something kind of pretty different to a historic house than what most people who do additions in Somerville do, where we just kind of replicate the existing details. And so we're having to probably look at this closer than we would normally, because if you were telling us you were putting these windows in and they were going to be double hung clad windows and all the trim and everything matched, we would just say, okay, you match existing and we know what the existing is and it's good. So yeah, there's probably a little more discussion here. Couple of things that I'm trying to get comfortable with is, in your board that you've given us, I got your presentation pulled up on my other screen here, but maybe if you could go there, the samples,
Sure.
the windows, the corners. Yeah, that one. You give us this one here on the bottom corner that looks like some, but I'm not sure where you say you're using that or what that product is, or is that just representative of something, or are you actually using something like that?
That's representative of kind of the look that we're going for with the thinner mullion and the steel look. So no, I haven't pulled the particular cut sheet for the exact window that we're using, and some of that is due to pricing.
Yeah.
And we sort of love to say that we're going to use Hopes, and everyone likes that until they don't.
Right, but just like the BAR in Somerville, we want to know what products you're using, and we want to know if you're going to use metal windows, Hopes metal windows. That's a big different than using commercial storefront, and I probably can't support commercial storefront on a house, but the Hopes metal window, I probably could get there. And so it's really, you're kind of giving us two different things without telling us what you want to use. And I think we need to know.
And I think we'd certainly be open to any conditions that the board might attach to their review. For example, we don't want you to use storefront. We want you to use a metal clad window. That will be fine. We can work through all that. And certainly that's understandable. Yeah.
Well, I guess unfortunately, and I wish it wasn't this way. I wish we had preliminary approval and final approval. That's probably something we need to change in Somerville for bigger, larger projects like this or more complex projects. So I think for me to vote in favor, I'd have to know the details a little better. I will just say, and this is just my general opinion, everybody will have their own, of course, the shape of the addition and the removal of the existing and the new addition, the shape of it, I don't really have any issues with. I think it's more of just figuring out the details that you're wanting to use. And maybe those, if you're going to a clad window, maybe that has to trend back to a little more in keeping with the house while still being contemporary. Maybe it's just a little more in keeping with the house. If you're going to go with the metal window, the true metal window, that may allow something that looks a little differently. I don't think aluminum storefront though is a substitution in this for this product. Everybody else may feel differently.
May I throw in my concerns?
Yes.
And I'm afraid mine's a big one. I have been in the house and I think the interior changes and renovations are both useful and attractive. And I think the design of the whole thing would look great in Pine Forest, for instance. But I rented a cottage on West Fifth Street for a number of years and then bought a house on West Fifth Street. And I can tell you that big glass addition is a glaring change in the historic district to me. I feel a responsibility to the people who used to be my neighbors in keeping that area more in the historic vein. And as beautiful as the design is, I would not be able to vote for it, to approve it with that glass addition. It does look like a storefront to me. So I need to let you all know that right now before you get any further.
And the client is indicated with me that he does not want storefront, and it look more like this is what he's aiming for.
I just think that amount of glass on three sides, it will shine through to the backyards of everybody on that street until you get to West Main Street, to the big house on West Main Street. I think it would be a disservice to those people, and that's just my opinion. I'm just one person, and I'm certainly not an architect. I'm someone who's lived there, and I would be unhappy with that particular change. So
yeah, Nancy Jean, I have a discussion I'd like to engage with you. So facing this view here that he's showing us, we have new metal windows that are more traditional, like they're vertical. They've got that proportion of the grid pattern, little dormers, and then what he's calling the hyphen is a metal frame that would be glass. I think that this view is more successful than the end view, where you have the hyphen and then you have that the big piece of glass. Nancy Jean, would you feel like if this end view did not have this 1.5 story piece of glass, but the hyphen did, so it truly acted as a different thing, a hyphen, like would that meet the kinds of concerns that you have about what should go in the historic district?
I'm not sure. I think I'd have to see it sketched out better, more detail on it, perhaps, but I'm having a hard time imagining it. I'm not the architect, and so I would have to have it, the elevation done more clearly for me,
right,
to see about it.
yeah,
At this point, I would say no, but it doesn't mean that if it were changed somewhat that I could change my mind.
yeah. So do you feel like Tim does, and I think like I do, that the actual shape and layout of this addition is better than what was shown previously? And I'm not talking now about the exterior. Like, do you like how it's lower and isn't quite so much filling in the whole corner?
I like that it's lower. And I guess I can't tell, is it glass on three sides, all three sides?
No.
It's glass in what he calls the hyphen. And then this side has these windows that are 3 individual windows. And so we really only have 2 sides.
I see.
So one side would be all glass,
Mm-hmm.
the hyphen and the end addition. And then this side would have 3 windows. Simmons, maybe you could pull up a little perspective again for us.
Sure. I think that last one is really best. So I think maybe these two.
So none of these really show, like you've got the tree kind of obscuring the one that is the one that Nancy Jean might be interested in, which is the 3 windows on the front and the big window on the side.
Right. This one.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Is the big window that does that face the backyards of the houses on West 5th? The three
Yes,
windows,
it does.
the three windows face West Fifth itself.
Right.
And then the tall windows with the glass would
Faces
face.
these three homes.
Mhm.
And there is this existing fence in the garages and the tree in there as well.
Right.
That provides some screening.
Right.
Well, I'm just one person. I'm not the majority on the board. So I would like to see whatever the changes are. I'm perfectly happy to see what changes can be made for him to come back next month. And I hate to be a pain in the rear, but I have to live with my conscience.
Yeah, of course.
Y'all just keep in mind that our deadline for the next meeting is this Friday. The latest we could accept drawings would be, and I know we've done this before for something that needed to submit final details, is allowed them to submit by Wednesday after the Friday deadline. So not this Wednesday, obviously, but next Wednesday we could extend for them. Because I have to advertise basically all the projects for the next month. So that just keep that in mind. And just a clarification, Simmons, this may have just been an application issue or something confusing, but when you submit, there are little boxes that you can check for conceptual, preliminary, and final. This was submitted as preliminary, but I understand asking for final. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, that was a mistake on our part.
Which way?
We would be submitting for final. We initially thought we were submitting for preliminary, and then we realized that decisions aren't made unless it's submitted for final. So we went through and looked at what we needed to add, and it seemed like landscape lighting was all we were missing. So we talked with the owner, and he's not interested in adding landscape lighting.
Becca, could you read what any neighbor comments might be?
Yes, ma'am. Give me just a second. All right. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
And I apologize. My allergies are terrible today, so I'll try and speak as clearly as possible. So this is to the Somerville Board of Architectural Review regarding 205 Sumter Avenue. Dear BAR members, we write as neighbors to the proposed project on the corner of Sumter Avenue and West 5th South Street. We attended the live stream meeting virtually on August 3rd, 2021, and voiced our individual concerns with the design of the proposed addition project. You heard our concerns, and we want to register our continued concerns in preparation for the next BAR meeting when the architect for the Sumter Avenue project returns for review. In the project's presentation in August, the owner's architect stated that the owner seeks to restore the historic house to its original footprint structure by eliminating the additions from 50 years and 100 years ago. Those previous additions had included the conveniences of closets and bathrooms. Like most historic homes, ours included, owners have had to make some concessions to the interior to allow for modernizations like central HVAC, bathrooms, and closets. It is our understanding that the interior is not the purview of the BAR, and it is certainly not ours. But in the owner's determination to restore the purity of the original structure, the resulting new changes do affect the exterior in a shocking way. The addition of the two-story glass box certainly makes a visible departure from the original integrity of this historic home. The owner's presentation seemed to justify its bold contemporary addition by including one of BAR's guidelines that additions, quote, not duplicate, the architecture and design of the main building. However, the rest of the guideline advises that new changes, quote, should generally pick up overall cues from the main building, end quote. A highly visible flat roof box with two-story glass windows seems like a far cry from the form of the original home. The secondary proposal of a 12-foot extension to the existing garage and workshop also adversely affects the adjacent neighbor's home, which stands just feet away from the back wall of the garage. The previous owners considerately added a buffer of short evergreen tea olive trees to block some of the blank baldness of the back wall. That's a tongue twister. But that greenery has been recently cut down. The proposed addition of a 12-foot music room to an already long building would result in blocking the view from half the neighbor's home and would necessitate the removal of a mature tree. Because this is an important historic home in the heart of the historic area with high visibility from the community from all sides on 2 well-traveled streets, and because the garage addition creates problems for the immediate neighbor, we voice strong disapproval for the proposed changes. Sincerely, Clay and Sandy Thornton of 126 West 5th South Street, Don and Eleanor Kutz, 124 West 5th South Street, Chris and Becky Glaze, 122 West 5th South Street, and David and Bonnie Ferguson of 127 West 5th South Street. And that's all I have.
Okay. Becca, what are our options if he submitted and asked for preliminary, but is in this meeting asking for final? What are our choices around what we can do?
I mean, we don't really have a standard for, if someone this happens quite often, to be really honest. I have applicants who just select all 3 because they're not sure. And I totally understand the notion here, and it is true that y'all are not supposed to vote. If you give conceptual or preliminary, you're only supposed to vote if it's for final. So that's really the only difference here. There's not any other condition, I guess you could say, that Simmons would have had to meet. It's based on what y'all want to do collectively as a group.
Right. Well, my thoughts are that that I know that Nancy Jean is uncomfortable. I know that both Tim and I are uncomfortable with the detailing and the selection of materials and how that works. And then there's, we haven't talked except for my comments about the garage itself. But it seems like this is very similar to the church edition that we were looking at not too long ago, where we really had a lot of discussion with the architects over multiple meetings about the glass, the framing, how it fit, what the shapes were, what the patterning was going to be, because it all makes a really big difference. And I feel like that is this exact same piece in this particular case. So while we may not be, I get the sense, and I'm putting words in your mouth, Nancy Jean, perhaps you don't feel exactly like this, but it seems that the design of the addition from its point of view of massing and location feels a lot more sympathetic, and that we as a group are more comfortable with that. But the details, and especially that end wall, are unresolved enough that I wouldn't feel comfortable, and I don't think any of us would feel comfortable. Am I summarizing accurately where we are?
For me.
Yeah, I think so, Rachel. And
So
again,
perhaps, yeah, so
scale and
perhaps,
mass of the addition, I don't really have any concern with.
right,
Seems appropriate. The location seems appropriate.
right.
I guess it's just kind of getting comfortable with exactly what windows you guys are going to use, Simmons. And I realize it's a cost, but you can, even off of these, you can get a rough idea of whether the Hopes windows are in your budget and whether that detailing, some of that detailing looks like. And you're also hearing the concerns from the other board members, so you might need to address that differently.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it sounds like if you're forcing us to vote, we're going to be saying no because there's too many unresolved pieces. And so perhaps all we can do is offer you ongoing advice or comments, which is that the development of the design, I think, is nice. I like the where you're going with the size of that addition and the shape of it and how you've made it secondary to the main house. I'm not quite sure it's finished though.
Simmons, hey, you can hear we're not particularly in a final situation and I do not want to get a disapproval on here. I really would like for you to take what we've said and go back and look at it and come back one more time, because that wall of glass looks more like something that you'd see downtown in a modern area than in a high
I mean,
class.
the little photo that you had of, you know, the steel sash.
Right.
Yeah. It looks nice.
That looks really great, but that's actually not what you've got.
Right.
So it's not really what we're looking at either.
Yeah. Maybe there's some inspirations you can send to us or include in your next presentation that would help us be more comfortable with it.
Okay, and my client understandably is asking what detail in particular that it is you want, and I think I hear you saying the detailing the glass, particularly the glass wall and the hyphen, are there probably the roof eaves, the base.
Yeah, the base detail.
The base detail. And it's not so much the detail per se, it really is the form that it gives us. So, you know, if the existing home has the brick inset under and you're showing us a fairly like clean shape, then the brick needs to be tucked under. And I'm less concerned about the actual specific detail of that, of just what does it look like. And equally, if we're looking at the end elevation and we're got a metal sash window, I need to see like, what is the thickness of that metal? How strong is it? How big is that relative to the trim beside it? Just so I get a sense of what will the overall texture be on that wall? And where is the glass and which will be spandrel glass and what's the color of the spandrel glass compared to the other glass, and what will it look like?
Okay.
Because that's really different than the image that you showed us.
Yeah, which is kind of conceptually shown as storefront.
Correct.
And these comments, do they come in do you all ever put them out in writing, just so that is sometimes helpful for me to refer back to, or is it better to look at this recorded webinar, or just trying to get a sense of the process? Sorry.
Upon request, you know, if you guys need me to do that, what I do is I go back through the YouTube video and type up everything. It's the same thing I do for the dispositions to make sure I capture everything down to every little detail. So I'm happy to do that for you, Simmons.
Okay, I think that would be helpful so that we are getting everything.
Sure.
And sorry, I'm corresponding a bit. This is the uniqueness of Zoom, and
It's not possible to remember the details of every single thing that each one of us has said. Written down is much better.
yeah. Well, thank you very much.
But my very last comment would be, I would encourage you to reach out to each of these neighbors and talk to them and show them what you're doing. And there's concern about the garage building, but there's concern about this, some of which you've addressed, but some that you haven't. And I would encourage you to talk to your neighbors. You could do a Zoom call with the neighbors and show them what you're doing, and they would appreciate it.
Okay.
Maybe there's a blending of that glass wall that gets everybody more comfortable, you know, keeps your client happy. He gets what he wants, but the neighbors get a little more comfortable with what you guys are doing there.
Yeah.
I loved your suggestion about doing an espalier on that long, bare, naked wall to make it more interesting to whoever the people are across the street. I think that would help break it up and make it look more artistic and more fitting in the neighborhood. So
Yeah.
throw that in if you talk to the neighbors.
Okay,
Um, let's see.
Simmons, since your application, from what I understand, did not say final on it, let's leave it that it isn't final and ask you to please, we'll get you the information that you need from what we've been saying, and ask that you please come back to us so that we can hopefully come to an approval.
And Simmons, if you want, I think I have one meeting tomorrow, but if you want to follow up with me tonight or tomorrow morning, we can set up a time to chat so we can kind of make sure that you know what's required to get you on the next meeting and all of that good stuff.
That'd be great. All these things are very helpful, I think, as we chart our course.
Okay, sir. Well, thank you. Appreciate the time that you've given us.
Well, thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to get to the next agenda item here while I switch over my screen.
Yeah. Our next one is 114 South Walnut Street.
And y'all can go ahead and start explaining the project while I try and get to the display here.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Angelo Scully with Tadding Construction, and we are the general contractors for 114 South Walnut Street. What we are proposing to do is take the existing back porch and close it in to make into a mudroom so that the owners would have an area to almost like a drop zone, and keep the integrity of their wooden floors inside the house, not getting muddy and wet and stuff like that. We are going to basically reuse the siding that we are taking off on the inside of the porch, and actually bring it outside so that the existing siding matches the existing house 100%. We are proposing to do a new door, because the door that's there now is actually not really good shape, and that is not really energy efficient also. And that's pretty much our plans. Any questions?
I'm sorry, y'all. My computer is extremely slow, so I'm trying to get this up for y'all. Tell Town of Somerville to get me a new computer. Okay, this is the elevation that we're looking at here, and I'll get it full screen in just a moment. If y'all have any questions for Angelo.
Is this what we had started seeing a little bit last week with, or last month, there was a photo showing the end wall?
Yes, and what happened is that this is our first time actually doing any work in the historical area. So I actually gave the Zoom link to my owner, and also to my designer, who's doing some interior design stuff. But and we didn't realize that we each had to have our own Zoom link. So it kind of got messed up, and that's why we were not present last month.
I see. Could we see the photos again, please, Becca?
So this is the front of the house, which faces South Walnut Street. This is the this actually faces. Okay, so this actually faces All right. that's
Sorry,
the-
it's skipping over a bunch. I'm sorry, y'all.
All right. So this is the back of the house right now. There was an addition put on. We don't know exactly when the addition was done. That brand new dormer above the front porch, above the back porch there, that was put on in 2016. So what we are proposing is basically just close in this 8 feet wide open area here and just put a single door out towards the back, and that's it. And again, we're taking the old siding that's inside the porch and we're actually going to reuse it to the outside to match 100%.
So is the existing door going to stay where it is? The
No,
white door?
we are actually going to take that door out and make it into a open, basically case opening.
Case opening.
So just asking, if you're taking that out, why don't you just move that whole thing back 8 feet and have that be your back door?
Because that door there is actually not, it's pretty rotted.
Mm.
And it's not energy efficient. So we're hoping to, basically just put a new energy efficient door in.
Becca, what's the rating of this home?
This is a number 2.
Okay.
And okay, now I apologize. Now, can you explain to me what the ratings mean?
Certainly. So the State Historic Preservation Office of South Carolina came through in 1979 and then in 1996 and surveyed the homes in the historic district. They went through and based off of, and I can send you this if you'd like, Angelo, based off of all of the overall house, they get down into what materials were used, the character, architectural style, all of everything that makes the house and the property itself and the history of the house. They gave it a rating from 1 to 5, 1 being outstanding as far as contributing to the historic district, and 5 actually doesn't have a descriptor. That basically means it doesn't contribute, and 4 is non-contributory, 5 is if you could go lower than that, I guess. We don't have many 5s. 5 would be like a metal shed.
Gotcha.
Which they typically don't even give those ratings out, unless it was on a property that was historic at one point. You don't see a lot of those, but that kind of explains. And in consideration with the rating of the house, the board has to take that into consideration when any changes are made.
Okay. So the reason why we are going with a single door, Rachel, is that on the inside we want to put some cabinetry for like a kind of a
Like a mudroom.
like a mudroom, like drop zone. And so we need the room, and that's why we are centering that door directly in that opening.
If I can speak for a second, the view that you just had, that view from Richardson Avenue, none of this is viewable from the street, from either Walnut or from Richardson Avenue.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Dan, not to interrupt you, but ladies and gentlemen, this is actually Dan McCord. He is actually the owner of the residence right now.
That's fine.
Right, and I just wanted that known, and none of that is visible from either Walnut or from Richardson. Whereas that addition, I think they added the at some point recently, not too often, not too long ago, they added the second floor on this house. They 2016, I think, is when it was actually that they put those dormers in. They finished the attic on this house, so those were visible. But what we're trying to do is close that porch in is all. And again, that's all we're trying to do.
The other, and then also, Becky, if you bring up the back view of the pictures. All right, so stop right, Becky, can you go back one? The other one. Go back. Go back. Back one more. And on the neighbor side, on South Walnut Street. So even at that view, the neighbor cannot even see the back porch, even from their side view. It's not visible. So nothing on this project is visible by any means on any from any neighbors.
Well,
Okay.
I'll jump in and kickstart. So I'm torn because what you're doing is not visible from the street. But you have a number 2 rated building and the existing door with its side lights and transoms is an integral detail and part of our historic homes. And you'll see it in many of the historic homes. So, and equally, I appreciate it does not leave you very much space in order to create cabinetry to have a mudroom. But it would really break my heart to lose such an important detail in one of these historic homes to put in a crappy little ordinary door just because it's on the back.
Okay, so Rachel, not to interrupt you, what if we would compromise and I would rebuild the door that's there, make it more better, reglaze the windows, and also take the transom that's above the door and reconfigure the transom and put it in and basically use that same glass, the same pattern, and I do the same door, but lose the side lights, but put a transom above the door. Would that, I think that would actually, make the back of the house appearance, the same, but lose the side lights. How does that sound to you?
I appreciate where you're going with that. It's let me mull it over and let my fellow board members jump in and share their thoughts.
I mean, I appreciate and I understand where everybody's coming from. We are, as an organization, we just are trying to please everybody, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Well, this is obviously a back door, and I think possibly by doing what Angela was saying about just putting a transom on it rather than transom and side lights, which more is like a main opening door, that might really look good, and it would give them some sides to inside the door if they're going to put any cabinet work or anything in there, or even hang hooks.
Yeah.
This is Tim. I'll just say a few words. I understand the owner's need for additional space on the inside, and this seems like an easy place to get it. But I just feel like it is a number 2. You did buy a historic home, and when we buy these things, we buy them because we kind of love the historic nature, and part of our duty is to preserve the historic fabric of these homes and not let them get destroyed. And I feel like this one is particularly poorly done. And just even like to the, the coordination of the new steps, they just kind of randomly come up to the house. The corner pieces of the porch are still in play and left and just infilled, and, a single 3070 door is kind of stuck in there without any detail on what the door is. And I just think it's got a lot of, if this was a home in Goose Creek, Sangaree, yeah, sure, but not a historic home. I just don't think, I think you can accomplish what you want to get to. I just don't think you've given enough thought on how to get there yet. And
Well, I mean, okay, so Tim, we're open to suggestions. I mean, tell me what you guys are looking, because if you look at the pictures, I mean, there's really, the back of the house is plain. I mean, there's nothing there.
well,
I mean,
but
but
Angela, the corner boards kind of filled in there. The
Well, hey,
keys
I
at
mean,
the
that's-
bottom, the stair rails come up to nothing. See how
That's-
now. Let's talk about what's there now.
okay,
And,
so
so let me show you. So you got the steps come up, and the rails tie into the corner boards in a nice fashion. The stairs are the same width as the porch. You've got a beautiful door with side lights and a transom with a beautiful screen door tucked back into a covered porch opening. It's beautiful. It's lovely. And, what we're converting to is just not in keeping with what a historic house should have. And I think this house deserves more than that. I think there's a better solution out there than what you guys have presented.
okay, so so please help me and tell me exactly what you guys will want to see there. I mean, I've suggested, which would please the homeowners and hopefully it please you guys, but you're basically, Tim, you're saying go back to the drawing boards, but you're not telling me exactly what you want to see.
You're right, because I'm not an architect and I'm not the designer. And I
Okay.
think you're going to have to probably just get a designer, or you're going to have to spend some more time kind of figuring it out. I can't sit here and look at this and figure out the right solution, in a 15-minute presentation here. That's for the design team or your designer to do. And it may take, several hours, or it might take several tries and different attempts at it.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm Angelo's designer with Tatton Construction, Alex Fresh. What I'm hearing Tim and the rest of the panel say, give me 1 second, is if we were to use a door of similar style as existing, along with a transom window above of similar style, of course, coordination with the size that we need for the interior project, would that appease everyone? I think the issue here, it sounds like, if I'm correct, is the side lights. Interior to accomplish what we're after with the cabinetry for the mudroom and the drop area, the side lights are a bit large for the space. So what we were attempting to do is downsize the door to create more storage what the owners really need to accommodate for their lives or their grandkids and things like that. We were thinking that a transom window above would kind of not a meet in the middle, so to say, but add that historic nature, add the the additional architecture look from the exterior while creating that space on the interior. Would that be sufficient for you guys? And we could certainly put a design that shows that a little bit better together for you.
Alice,
I have a question and an answer for you.
Yes.
Are you putting cabinetry on both sides of the door?
The
Yes.
cabinetry will be on both sides of the door. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My other answer to you is I can't tell looking at a photo what the proportions will be like if you just pull that door forward and put a transom over it, because I need to see it in the wall. And I don't think any one of us can answer your question, will that do? And will it be the right answer? Which I think is what Tim was saying is, please show us what you'd like.
Sure.
We're happy to look at it, but I think we're all expressing concern that some thought to the integrity of this home, or it needs more thought.
Right.
Because this home has enough value that we care about it and we want it to be done right.
I think there were a few issues in drafting. I don't think in the drafting in the plans that were proposed here that there was quite enough detail put into those. So that's something I'd be glad to take a second look at and to provide more clarity for you all as to proportions and the scale of the door with the transom and how its relationship to the.
And
Yeah, no, like Alex,
there's this window adjacent. Like, how far will it be from? Like, you almost need to draw that whole wall.
you're
and
asking
show us
removal,
and show us the door and the window. And
but
the
you want to
wall.
remove the window, right, Alex?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Oh, this adjacent window is also gone.
That is
Yes.
correct.
Oh, okay. See, we need to know what you're actually asking for. 'Cause
Was
I did
wasn't
not know that.
okay, can I ask, as the owner, that was an addition. That back portion back there was a total addition to the house. That was not part of the original house.
The original house was back where this old door was.
Correct.
Correct. And so the dormers were added recently, the back bedroom, as you can see on the right side of this photograph, that whole addition was added to this house. I think it was 4 15 by 15 rooms at one time. And we've got a tiny little kitchen on the back of that house. It's the width of that porch. And so the idea, frankly, is to make a usable kitchen in that house. Right now, it's not usable, what's there. And so if that's not going to work, we're going to have to figure something out. But those dormers were added. The back portion was added. What we're proposing is just to close that in, give us a little extra space in that kitchen or a mudroom. And I don't know how I should do that with that house and preserve the integrity of it. We just moved from downtown Charleston. We lived at 28 Hazel Street in East Bay for years and dealt with the historic, thing downtown. And we come up here and I don't know what to say.
And we're just as bad, right?
We're just as bad. Should have moved to East, I guess.
I mean, within reason, we're not even looking. It's nothing you can even see from we're not trying to change the structural integrity of the house. There's no kitchen on this house. It's like 4 feet wide by 8 feet. That's it for this house. If you guys have been in this house, there's a what do you call the person who does things on Instagram? What's her name?
Blogger.
What's her name? Banco, lived here, and she's got hundreds of thousands of followers on this house. And it's like, but she moved because there's no place to do anything with the kitchen. I mean, you can't, it's frustrating to me if what we're doing to the back of this house, it's going to make it a beautiful home, and we're not ruining the historical portions of this house that have not already been changed by those dormers and the addition of the bedroom. It's, that's, I don't know. You guys do what you have to do and we'll do what we have to do, but I wish you would please consider what we're talking about here. We're not trying to ruin everything. We love this. Our family goes back to the roots in Virginia. They're living in a house that's 300 years old, but let's try to come to a compromise here, please.
Just as a suggestion, I have a similar situation in my house, and what we did is we left the side lights and the transom in there, but you can't see through the side lights anymore. We've blocked them off, and so the other side of it is just like being in a room. You might look at that about moving the whole thing out, even replacing the door if need be itself, but move the entire thing all the way out to the outside and leave that the frame just like it is, and then just either block in the back of the glass and then just go on with your room as you want it.
Mr. Dixon?
You mean you pretend like it's like it's there?
Yeah. Hey, Dan.
On the outside you do, but not the inside.
Yeah. On the inside,
what's the point of that? If nobody
Appearance,
can see it, if nobody can see it anyway, what's the point of that, folks? I mean, really,
appearance from the outside.
you can't see it from the outside, Philip,
Why? I can see
because
it
nobody
now.
can see it unless you come into our backyard.
Well,
You can't, I mean, you absolutely cannot come in from Richardson. We've got a garage that people put on this property that was not originally there. If you look at the original footprint of this property, the people next door, they put a modern house right next door to us on Walnut Street. That house isn't historic. They put that onto the property that was this original property. And then they built an extension onto the side. They put the garage back there where you can't even see in this backyard unless you walk through our gate. And we're going to make that, we're going to pretend that that's a real historic facade. Come on.
well,
That's frustrating, folks. It's very
I
frustrating.
understand. I
I've just
understand.
come from downtown
But there.
Charleston for 25 years. I've been down there dealing with crap. It's frustrating. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm muting myself. My wife hit me on the head. I'm muting.
Could have been worse.
So Alex, I think just try to give it some more detail and some more emphasis. Just take out the silliness of, if you're going to close it in, then don't leave the corners like it used to be there. Remove the corners and let the lap siding come all the way across. Make
Understood.
the steps make sense to the door, right? Make the
Understood.
door make sense to the house. Show the dormer up on the roof so that it all is all in proportion. And you have to just finesse it a little bit with some more detail. Your drawing is just very basic, rudimentary, and just give it a little more pop and a little more emphasis to the details. And I think it'll make it sell a lot better.
Understood.
Um,
All right.
okay, I mean, Mr. Dixon, I mean, that I understand what you were saying, and we've done that in the past also. But like Dan, my homeowner, said to him, we're going to go ahead and we'll redraw it for you guys, and hopefully we can get this thing taken care of in the past. But if you look at the drawings now, though, it doesn't show any corner bolts. It shows that the lap siding goes all the way to the window, to the door.
No, I think it does.
Go ahead, no, done. The
Okay.
new review clearly shows corner boards.
You're absolutely right, and I apologize. Okay.
And
All right.
see how the steps on the left-hand side just kind of come into nothingness?
Yeah. All right. That's just and I apologize. And that's a design issue, and we'll take care of it. Yes, sir.
And see how the band board is a different size. And it's just a lot of little details there that we don't, just doesn't make it look very good, to be quite
Okay.
honest.
All right. Well, again, we'll take care of it. All right. So Becky, you said that we got till next Wednesday.
So you need to submit an application by Friday, but your drawings have until Wednesday to be uploaded.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Yes.
All
If
right.
we may, may we leave it at that right now, and you take our comments and resubmit, and we'll hopefully take care of it next month.
Yes, sir. Well,
Can I ask what that means from a time frame, from a timeline standpoint, please?
All right. If we would vote and disapprove it, that would mean you'd have a long, hard haul to come back. I'd rather just let it lay right now and let you come back next month with a revision for us to look at based on what we've talked about.
The meeting is November 2nd.
okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys' time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. The next one we have is 217 East Richardson.
Can I
We have
speak now?
somebody?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, again.
Okay, great. I am Nancy Deach and I own this property on 217 East Richardson. It is a multi-unit rental on the corner of East Richardson and Gum Street. Presently, on the west side, main town square side, that's the front of the house. If you're on Gum Street, which is to the right, there is a chain link fence that runs up. You're looking in the backyard right now. That is a chain link fence that runs across the back, and it corners down on the west side to a 6-foot privacy fence that's been there for a while. That looks terrible. This is why I'm working on this now. But what I want to do is remove the chain link fence, put a new privacy fence just across the back to corner up to the existing privacy fence that's there. And I do not want to put, I don't want to run the privacy fence along Gum Street because it is in full view. There are large old azaleas there that make a nice natural buffer there. So I'd like to leave those. The pink dolphin is on that side. I'd like to leave that just as it is. But behind this house, there is a cinder block rental property that is not maintained frequently, the yard and such. And there's I don't know if it's a chop shop. I don't know what it is. There is work going on all the time with various different cars. I have a need for privacy there across that backyard, and that would just improve my property. And I think it would improve theirs too. But it would coordinate with a privacy fence that's already running down the driveway beside this house, my house, and the house next door, which is a really nice property that's sitting there with a brand new privacy fence. Our fences join up by each other. I almost could take down my driveway one and it would be new. And then the one across the back would be new also, if I could have approval to get rid of the chain link fence. So I don't have any fancy presentation. I just want to improve that backyard view.
And just so I can get this out there before we get into discussion, I did speak with Mr. Booker, who I believe owns the property that you were speaking of behind there. It is a rental property. He did voice that he did not prefer the fence to be taken down, but he's understood that if it's your property, you have that right if the board approves it. He did, and he wasn't able to get in on this meeting, but he did want me to let you know, Nancy, that if you are getting rid of that chain link fence, that he would like to have it.
Wow. Well, I'm not really fond of it. So I will try to communicate with him. I think part of his difficulty is he lives in Georgia. He does not live locally. And so maintaining that property is more difficult for him than, it's 8 blocks from my home. And it's just, oftentimes it's an eyesore, and I'm trying to block it out and be a good neighbor while I'm doing it. So I think he'll like it if I can get approval to put up this fence. I think it will be it'll be a lot better than looking at my air conditioning units in the backyard that go across the back. That's what they have to view. So that's what I'm after today, is just to make an improvement back there.
Maybe you can get him to pay to take it out.
I don't expect much from Mr. Booker. He brought his flea-infested dog over, tied it to my picnic table 2 years ago, and infested my whole yard and property. And I didn't get very far with him taking care of the spraying. So I think I have to be independent, take care of this myself, and move on. But I'll give him the chain link fence.
He did also bring up a question that also I had. That brick structure, I wouldn't call it a structure. It's a grill, right?
It is very weird. I've got a feeling that years and years ago, my house is, my understanding, 1870s. So who knows when this happened, but they must have had a really great relationship with a neighbor. It is a grill. It is a cookout thing that opens into that yard and my yard. And it would go, what did he want? Did he want that too?
Well, him and I had a long conversation about, figuring out what is on whose property as far as that grill thing is concerned. It's really a civil matter for y'all as neighbors to figure out what you want to do with that. I just wanted to bring it up because you are building a fence or proposing to build a fence, and I would think you would have to find a way around that or remove it.
Well, I actually, I can have the fence structure build up over the top of it, but that seems kind of silly. It is literally in shambles. It's not functional. And I will be removing what's on my property. Why would I keep it? I wouldn't even want a fire in it because it's so close to the converted garage cottage. It would not even be safe. And Mr. Booker and I will not be cooking together. So I will keep that in mind.
Just
I'll
wanted
give
to
him
bring
my
it up.
bricks. He can have the bricks for my side if he wants, but that's just from days gone by, a long, long time ago, I'm sure.
So circling back to the fence, guys, I'm generally okay with the fence. The only thing that I always like to see is a step down at the street, because I feel like just like the one that we had on Charleston Street where the 6-foot fence came all the way to the street line, it was just too much. And
okay, the existing fence does not come to the street. Tim, it stops. I want to say it doesn't come to the street.
well, I'm talking about the
To
property.
the street.
Nancy, I'm talking about the property line, Nancy. So
Oh, the property line. Okay.
yeah. So if you come down Charleston Street, there was a 6-foot fence that came all the way to the property line, which makes it about 10 feet off the street because of the right of way. And it's just too much. And previous fences that we approved in this situation, the first 20 feet or so was stepped down to a lower height to like 4 foot or 3 foot, 3.5 foot or whatever it was. And then it stepped up, so it just allows from the streetscape a little bit better. It doesn't block the neighbor's front yard quite as much. They don't feel like they have a fence coming all the way out to the end.
Okay. So like right now, the chain link fence comes across the back. I'm trying to visualize it. I probably didn't give you a picture of that. And it meets a chain link fence that's on gum.
Right.
Which is really hidden, pretty much hidden. I've got a great picket fence across the front of the house that's been there forever. But the chain link fence across gum, really what you see there and is really the border are those big old azaleas and then pine trees that are so huge.
You're
so
right.
In
and
my
so
mind,
what we're talking about is where the fence hits your chain link fence on Gum Street.
Okay.
So I would propose that for the first 20 feet from that chain link fence back, it would be at a 4-foot height. Then it could step up to a 6-foot height. And that allows that visual break coming down the street. And I realize that's a very small street, but it still is a quaint little street that people walk down and go down.
Even though there's no sidewalks provided by the town.
No,
right across the street is the parking lot of the Pink Dolphin. That's directly across from it. And then there is one other nice little residence that's, right behind that. Yeah. I'm trying to visualize in my mind that broken line of, and you're saying 20 feet and then go up and then go down. That's going to cut way into that yard in the backyard. If I go 20 feet.
Not really. No, I don't think you're following me. Instead of the first 20 feet, instead of the fence being 6 feet high, it's 4 feet high. That's all it is. You still have the fence. It's just not as tall. Okay. So visually, if you're walking down the street, it doesn't create quite the same barrier. If you look on west, a great example, Nancy, is that when you go on, West 6th Street toward Berlin G. Myers, that fence steps down. The fence on Sumter Avenue, right there at the house we were just talking about, it steps down. I mean, so any of the ones that we've looked at, we've had step down. The ones that don't step down somehow slip by, not coming to us. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't think that's hard to do. I don't.
Right.
And, you know, on that end of the yard, I'm
Right. You can't see the
not
house.
trying to block his house anyway. His house is
Right. And
right
you're-
behind me.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, so.
All right, that's doable. Yeah. Mr. Booker, have any other requests? So you want to take out the couple of trees? I've already got permit for it. There's some scraggy trees that are in the fence line that got to come out, but. I'll give
No,
him
I
the
think
wood.
I think he just really was interested in getting the chain link fence if it was going to be removed.
Isn't that weird? I can't promise him that because I don't know.
And I let him know that. I let him know that we had no control over that and it was your fence and you can do whatever you want with it.
He shouldn't have brought that dog over. That's all I got to say. Anyway, all right. Thank you. I think this sounds like I can go ahead with my fencing.
Well, we still got to
Still need
vote.
to take a
We haven't
vote.
voted yet.
Take a vote.
We still need, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the fence as submitted with the one exception that the first 20 feet of fence as it leaves South Gum Street is 4 foot height maximum instead of 6 foot height.
A second?
I'll second it. This is Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, please answer yes or no for me. Rachel,
Yes.
Nancy Jean,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I say yes. So
All right. Thank
I
you.
wish.
Hallelujah.
I'll send you the approval letter tomorrow, Nancy.
All right. Thanks so much. Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye.
Our next applicant is 201 West Carolina.
Oh, Lord.
Do we have somebody to present it for us?
They were on earlier. Oh, there we go.
I think that's us. This is Sean Herbst. I'm US VP Operations, Acorn Stairlifts. And so you have, basically what you have there is your front and side view of the stairlift as it would be approaching the building on that side. These are standard outdoor units. That particular staircase is on what side?
Right side. If you're standing on the roadside, on the
Yeah.
right side.
Okay. So it's from West Carolina Avenue, you'd say it's that that staircase on the front facade to the right side, on the front facade. And we're certainly just looking to give access without impeding the main egress on the main staircase.
Any questions?
And this is for the Preservation Society building, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
It is.
Yes.
The old townhouse.
it's the old town hall.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
the old town hall.
And y'all don't have, there's no side back entrance or anything. This is the only entrance you really have. They're all face the street, if I remember correct.
I think there are 3 entrances, and this is the most, if you're standing on front of the street, this is the most right one. There is a front entrance and a side entrance.
I don't see one on the side. Oh, there's one on this side, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so all three are front facing. Yeah, so
They all face Carolina, yeah.
correct.
Yes, correct.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
So in most cases, when we're talking about an install like this, in some of the other states that we deal with, the hinge point here for state inspectors and or when we're permitting jobs like this what is the egress? Are there egresses to that same area of the building? And is there enough room to get by when the stair lift is installed? So do we have the specs on that?
Yes.
And that's not really our purview. That's actually the town's. Ours is just the aesthetics of it.
Just the aesthetic. Okay.
But I do have a question. Since there's not a landing at the top of these stairs, how do you get out of the chair and into the house?
So since there is, do we have a picture of that? The top landing?
Yes.
There we go. Okay. So since that basically what will happen is in an install like this, the railing comes up right up to the door itself in the door frame. And what would happen is as you can see, if you put up the picture with the side view or with the view of the stair lift there. So if you look at the footrest stays stationary, and what happens is the footrest would come up right to the door frame itself, and then the chair, the seat component swivels, so it swiveled 90 degrees to and essentially allow the user to swivel and put their legs inside the door and locks into place, and therefore allows a safe exit or entrance. If somebody is inside the door, to be able to turn around and sit down and then swivel into the riding position. So it's a swivel mechanism that locks in place. It actually locks in place at a 45 and a 90 degree angle to allow for that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Is the seat removable?
It is. It's not something that we normally inform or that we would tell our clients to do that. In certainly in case of an emergency, it is removable, and it is there is a lock on it. Such that the installer can lock it down to where it's a little bit more difficult to take the seat off. The earlier versions are very quickly and easily removable, but we actually had a few instances where FDA had come in and said, "You guys need to lock that seat down a little bit more." So we have done that with the most recent version of the seat.
Mike, my concern was more the fact that that the building not being well occupied, about it, people just taking advantage of it and playing with it.
Oh yeah, it is locked down. So anybody that would walk up to the lift would not be able to remove the seat. You'd have to have a special tool to do that.
No, but I mean, can they run it? Can anybody get up there and run it up and down the steps?
Oh no. So you have two. Basically, you have an isolation switch that turns on the battery and keeps power to. It's DC powered, so it keeps power to the battery. Then you have a key switch as well, which would allow. Sorry guys, is that our volume? Probably that could be our volume, our microphone. The key switch also allows you to allow somebody to manage the lift, meaning nobody can use that lift if the key switch is removed. So what we normally do in these situations is somebody is a key holder. And then whenever anybody needs to use it, they go ahead and put the key in, turn the key switch on. And as long as the isolation switch stays on and the power, and they keep the power to the charging points, we have charge points top and bottom of that rail, then the battery stays fully charged. Then only the key holder would be able to have access to allow whomever would need access to use the lift. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the installation of this a chair lift.
A second?
I'll second. Tim Kennedy.
Thank you. All right, please answer for me. Rachel,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Nancy Jane,
Reluctantly, yes.
and
I'm with you,
I
Nancy
think it's the same. Yes. All right. I wish you well with it. I hope that it will last.
I'll send you the approval letter tomorrow, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
The next one is 400 South Gum Street. Anybody to present it?
They're on. I think I see Patrick on here. You might need to unmute yourself. There you
Yeah,
go.
can everybody hear me? Sorry about that. I did have it muted. My name is Patrick Orfis. I'm with Arwen Studio. I'm speaking on behalf of Janine and Scott Bronner, the owners of 400 South Gum. I do see that it looks like you guys have listed the owner as Lawrence Wozniak, but it is in fact Scott and Janine Bronner.
Dorchester County can sometimes take up to 2 years to change the homeowner's name. So that image that you saw is just the information we pull from their GIS mapping. So I understand that's confusing, but thank you for clarifying.
Just wanted to clarifying Scott and Janine are on this meeting as well. But what we've got going on here, we didn't do a full layout of the entire floor plan, but you can see the existing home there and where the existing kitchen is. The Scott and Janine had wanted to go through, do a small kitchen renovation. And in doing so, the current window locations don't work very well with stove and countertops. So we were just wanting to kind of remove what was there, add in a couple of windows that match the windows that face 3rd Street, and do 2 of them right there, bring some light into the kitchen, but keep that historic nature of those windows. The windows, like you see, are 6/6. They'd be wood windows. The trim and the sills would match the other windows along 3rd Street, and really try to keep the integrity of the historic structure. That existing west elevation shows really well where the existing house from the 1800s was and where the 1-story addition. I do not know when that addition was put on, but it was an addition at some point. It's got those large windows there, definitely not the 1800 historic windows. But those are some of the ones we'd like to remove.
Questions?
I don't really have questions except to say the removal of that clearly non-historic window is better.
Thank you.
I agree.
Improvement.
Yeah.
So I've got a question. What's the sill height of the existing window versus your new window? It looks like you're aligning the head, keeping the head the same, but you're
Correct, because it's sitting above the countertop. I think there's a picture. Yeah, if you can go back a few slides, there's a pic. There you go. So what we're doing is matching the head height and the sill height of those windows along 3rd Street. And that way the sill height sits above the countertop. I believe it's 46 inches.
Right. And what's the other ones that are currently there?
The taller
The
windows.
countertops.
So
my question is, should they be tall? A little short, I mean, I guess, to me.
Tim, I had trouble hearing that. You were in and out a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I switched to my mobile device.
Yeah, could you repeat that?
So the sill height of the existing window that's there, it looks like, is that not, do you know what that is? Because these just look a little too high.
Yeah,
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
I believe it's 29 inches, 27 or 29.
Can you show us the rear elevation with the new windows proposed? Do you know what maybe half the problem is that the grid pattern that you've got makes them look not very vertical? Like if you had a slightly different grid pattern, the rectangle shape of the grids could be taller, which might help, because right now they look more horizontal than vertical. So I know that that's duplicating the pattern, but in a window with a higher sill, it looks more. It changes that long vertical shape into a more horizontal shape.
Well, not much you can do about it because that window's over a sink. That it's typical of a window over sink being shorter than.
I understand that part, Phil. I was just thinking that perhaps with a different arrangement of grid pattern, that the appearance of the window pieces looks more vertical, and that is the more historic shape than having the window, each piece of the window grids being more square-like or even horizontal. So it's not the overall window shape, it's actually just the grid pattern maybe is what needs to be reviewed.
Are you thinking 3/3 instead of 6/6 to make them vertical?
Perhaps that's what it is.
We can definitely explore that. My concern with that, Rachel, would be that every other window on the house, no matter if it's the taller or the smaller, is a 6/6.
Mm-hmm. I do see that, but you know, when we're working with various windows of different sizes, our overall goal is to still have a more vertical shape of each pane, and I think that may override keeping the 6/6 even in a different shape window.
Do we have an east elevation? I think there is one.
Is there a photo, or is that
so
accurate?
Looking from this side, these
the 4.
two windows. There you go. See, those are short.
Mm-hmm.
But these just happen to be together.
Okay, so this will all be in the same room and visible?
4 out of the 5 of that size would be in the same room and visible.
Okay.
So there's one further to the original house. It's on that original house right there.
I see.
That would not be from that room.
So when you're actually on the street, you will see those 3 on the side and then 2 on the rear, and see the 3D view of these multiple windows.
Right. Yeah. This image is taking as if you're standing on 3rd Street. This is exactly what you'll see.
Right.
So I'm just kind of going from my house where I have my windows are exactly 36 inches off the floor, and so my countertop in my kitchen, because I live in a historic house too, they basically had to replace the windowsill. So my windowsill just came right in. So my windows actually come all the way down to the countertop and kind of sit on the countertop. And I realized in a new construction, that's not necessarily the way you would build it. And I realized, years ago, it felt like people used to leave out, I don't know, whatever it is, 18 inches above the countertop, right? More recently, you see that coming down closer and closer to the countertop. It just feels like, is the countertop all the way around? Is that why these other windows are that small, or is that just the way the house was?
There were a countertop underneath those smaller windows as part of the remodel. They're removing them.
And they're removing the countertops, but they were there originally, I guess.
But they were there,
Okay.
correct? Yep.
Okay. Well, I guess my question would be, and I realize you were trying to match those, but the existing window is the countertop won't fit underneath that existing window, or won't fit at the.
That's correct. The countertop goes just a little bit over the top of the sill, about 3 inches.
About 3 inches. Yeah, it's hard to tell that there's no dimension provided here. So
right.
So we have done some homes where we've left the existing window and had the countertop go across, and then there's, a little hole ready to catch stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not ideal, but
Not ideal.
Not ideal. And in my opinion, and again, I'm not part of the board, in my opinion, that's leading to water issues that would then have to replace the historic window anyway.
Do you know what the only disadvantage of what you're doing, like these shorter windows are not my ideal design solution, but I really lament that this little back addition, which is very symmetrical and clean and tidy, which is very much this whole house, like it's that clean, simple arrangement. I'm just sorry that we've lost the symmetry that is current with the door in the middle, the window each side, the little shed, the stairs, and the double window. It's unfortunate. It's not as attractive on the rear as just having it be symmetrical.
If I can address your symmetry comment, Rachel,
Yeah.
if Becca, if you would show the elevation straight onto that rear view.
Are you going to tell me it's not symmetrical? Oh,
So you can see that door is not exactly symmetrical, and that whole little shed roof and stair is slightly shifted.
yeah.
So to address your comment, it almost makes more sense to have two windows on
To
both sides.
fill it in.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any others?
I guess my end answer is, well, Becca, what is the rating of this house?
So this house actually does not have a rating. I'm not sure when the original house was built, but we don't have a file on it. And my thought on that was that perhaps we don't have a lot of files on the houses that are on GUM. A lot of them were built more recently, and the historic boundary has moved a few times. So that's also possible.
Okay.
We can't make that back symmetrical no matter what.
No.
Not unless you started over and moved everything, including the door. I mean, gracious. We just have to live with the fact that it's not symmetrical, and it makes me twitch too a little bit, but it's
It does me as well.
there. It's there.
Well, my last comment is standing at a sink with the middle of the windows right in front of you is not a nice feeling.
Oh, I'm going to disagree with you, Rachel. I've got a sink with the window straight in front of me and I love it to look out
So,
in the
so
backyard.
the middle of the two windows is right in front of you. You're not looking directly through glass. You're looking through.
Actually, my sink is in a corner and it's got two windows on both sides of the corner. So,
Oh, okay.
but I like it. I'd rather look at that than the wall.
Yeah.
Individual.
This gives you
Yeah.
a spot to hang your cooking
Yeah.
utensils.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I honestly think, given all the alternatives and the modestness of what you're asking, and that it's not a rated home, that I think we should approve it.
Good.
You make that a motion?
I'll make that a motion.
I'll
Okay, have a
second.
second? Thank you. All right, Rachel, you,
Yeah.
Tim,
Yes.
Nancy Jane,
Yes.
and I say yes. So,
Okay.
So
thank you
just a
much.
quick clarification, your recommendation about the window ratio of, light over light.
I'm withdrawing that because it matches other existing windows,
Got it.
and I think
Okay.
that matching the other existing is more important.
10-4.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you,
All
everyone.
right. All right.
All right. I'll send you
All right,
that
thanks,
approval
guys.
letter tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
And given it's so late and I'm still at my office, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that too.
All right, great.
Everybody in favor, turn your system
right.
off.
All right.
All right, bye, y'all. Take
Everybody.
care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank
See
you.
guys.
Good
Take
night.
care. Hey, Becca,
Yes, sir.
that house used to, the guy that installed my HVAC system is used to live in that house.
Gotcha.
It's Oak Brook Heating and Air, I think was the name of it. He moved somewhere else now, but that one's right. Two of those are right around the corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
Right
right.
from
Well, I'm
me.
signing off.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.